The Nihilist Penguin, a psychological analysis. The first time people saw him, they thought it was just another viral clip. A penguin, alone, walking across the endless white of Antarctica. Nothing extraordinary at first glance, just a bird moving, yet something about it lingered. The human mind, trained to search for meaning, found it instantly. At first they laughed, comments appeared. Me walking to my responsibilities, Monday mornings be like, humorous, relatable, fleeting. But as the video circulated, the laughter faded into reflection. Psychologists, philosophers, and ordinary viewers alike began to notice patterns. The penguin was more than a meme, it was a mirror. Why did it captivate millions? The answer lay in something primal. The juxtaposition of isolation and persistence. The penguin walked alone, yet forward. The colony behind it remained static, yet it did not falter. Human brains recognized a metaphor. Life is cold, indifferent, and often solitary, but movement, deliberate action can create meaning even without recognition. Experts began dissecting the phenomenon, some focused on evolutionary psychology. The penguin's solitary behavior triggered empathy circuits, the same neurological responses humans feel when witnessing a vulnerable individual moving against odds. It was a cognitive trigger for admiration, anxiety, and existential reflection all at once. Social media amplified this effect. Each repost, each meme edit, each TikTok remix added a new layer of meaning. The penguin became a symbol of burnout, of silent struggle, of perseverance unnoticed by the world. Followers across continents saw themselves in its flippers and footprints. They projected their own tiredness, loneliness, and internal chaos onto a creature that had no concept of human life. Some academics suggested the penguin's march resembled a real human coping mechanism. Solitary action, even in the absence of reward, can reduce anxiety and increase a sense of agency. The penguin, unwittingly, demonstrated this principle in its simple, relentless progress across the ice. People didn't just watch. They learned without knowing it. The meme also functioned as a Rorschach test for society. Political commentators saw parallels to leadership under scrutiny. Life coaches interpreted it as a lesson in resilience. Students connected it to the overwhelming pressure of modern education. Each viewer extracted personal insight, making the clip simultaneously universal and deeply individual. Philosophers joined in. They debated whether the penguin's journey was absurdist in nature, a symbol of existentialist thought, movement without meaning, persistence without audience. And yet, this very absurdity inspired reflection. The penguin did not perform for the world, it simply acted. That action in its purity created ripples of understanding among humans. Even those detached from the internet phenomenon felt its psychological pull. News segments showed clips alongside contemplative narration. Sometimes progress is silent, sometimes solitude is strength. The penguin had become a teacher of invisible lessons. It revealed the emotional architecture of modern life. Stress, isolation, and the unspoken drive to continue despite all odds. Humans internalized the lesson. They began adopting the penguin perspective. Small, deliberate actions, even in isolation, became a mantra. They walked to work, they completed tasks, they faced social anxiety, all under the silent guidance of a bird traversing ice, footprints marking persistence. The penguin's impact extended beyond humor. Brands tried to co-opt it but failed. Influencers attempted to parody it but missed the lesson. True power lay in authenticity and solitude. The penguin's march had no intention, no strategy, no audience, yet it became the most resonant metaphor of the year. Months passed, variations of the clip emerged, colorized versions, slow-motion edits, glitch effects, musical overlays, yet the original remained iconic. Viewers returned to it for insight, not entertainment. They studied its simplicity, its persistence, its quiet defiance against indifference. It was a psychological touchstone, a singular example of how subtle, unnoticed acts can hold immense emotional weight. In classrooms, therapists' offices, and homes, the penguin was cited as a case study in endurance and mental resilience. People realized that in a world obsessed with spectacle, the power of solitary, deliberate action could not be overstated. The lesson transcended species, transcended culture, and became a universal psychological truth. The penguin's march was simple, yet humans could not grasp simplicity without overcomplicating it. They projected ambition, anxiety, and hope onto a creature that had none of these. In doing so, they confronted their own inner struggles. It was a mirror of isolation, the silent feeling that even in a crowd one is utterly alone. Take Julia, for instance. She scrolled through the viral clip during a late-night work session, exhaustion tugging at her eyes. She was a social media manager, constantly responding, editing, and reacting, but never truly moving forward. Watching the penguin, she felt a pang of recognition. "That's me," she whispered to herself, her thumb frozen over the screen. She realized she had been running endlessly yet getting nowhere, distracted by endless notifications. Mark, a graduate student buried under assignments, found the penguin oddly comforting. The clip reminded him that persistence didn't always require speed, nor did success demand applause. He began approaching his projects differently, one step at a time, focused, deliberate. Like the penguin, he understood that endurance mattered more than recognition. Psychologists explained this as projection. Humans were imprinting their own desires, failures, and insecurities onto the penguin. It wasn't conscious. Yet through this unconscious reflection, viewers experienced what researchers called empathic resonance, a deep emotional alignment with another being, even if that being was not human. Social media analytics confirmed it. Videos with the penguin generated higher engagement than many traditional viral memes. Why? Because it was a psychological Rorschach test. Each viewer read themselves into it. Each interpretation was valid, each emotional response justified. Humor, anxiety, awe, melancholy, they all coexisted in the simple frame of a penguin walking alone. Even influencers could not fully capitalize on it. Attempts to co-opt the clip for fame failed because the power lay in authenticity and solitude. The penguin had no followers, no agenda, no social media account, yet it influenced millions. It became a quiet critique of modern obsession with visibility and recognition. The metaphor extended into workplaces. Managers used the penguin as an example of focus under pressure. Teachers used it to explain resilience. Therapists used it to guide clients in coping with burnout and isolation. The penguin's walk became a psychological tool, a symbol for quiet perseverance in the face of relentless external noise. Yet the most profound lessons were not in analysis, they were lived. People began experimenting with their own penguin walks, moments of deliberate solitude, silent persistence without validation. They disconnected from social media for a day. They completed a project without posting about it. They went for long walks alone, reflecting rather than reacting. In doing so, they discovered an uncomfortable truth. Humans are not built to endure constant noise and expectation. The penguin, in its elegant simplicity, revealed a path forward, acceptance of solitude, patience in progress, and humility in achievement. And as viewers internalized this, a subtle cultural shift occurred. Social media feeds, once chaotic and performative, started to include moments of stillness. People celebrated slow, deliberate action. They shared quiet victories. They admired persistence over spectacle. And always, somewhere in the collective consciousness, the penguin walked ahead, an emblem of endurance and silent mastery. Months later, the phenomenon persisted. Every new viral meme had to compete with the psychological depth of the penguin. His footprints across ice, his slow, determined steps became a metaphor not just for life but for the human mind. Navigating isolation, uncertainty, and the unrelenting pressure of expectation with calm, unwavering resilience. And in that metaphor, millions found something rare: peace. Soon, the phenomenon had transcended the internet. People discussed the penguin in everyday conversations in cafes, classrooms, and workplaces. It was no longer just a meme, it was a philosophical touchstone, a reminder that life's pressures did not need to define one's pace. Take Adrian, a software engineer who had been burning out from constant deadlines and endless notifications. Watching the penguin, he realized that efficiency was not about speed but about consistent forward motion. He began pacing his tasks, breaking overwhelming projects into small, manageable steps. The simple act of deliberate movement, inspired by the penguin, brought relief to his anxiety. Lena, a high school student, connected the clip to social isolation. Amid a world obsessed with likes and followers, she had felt invisible. but seeing the penguin walk alone, she learned that visibility was not the measure of value. She found strength in her solitude, embracing quiet moments instead of constantly seeking approval. The metaphor spread across professions and cultures. Athletes struggling with performance pressure shared the clip, describing how endurance and focus rather than recognition defined true achievement. Artists related it to the often unseen labor behind creation, and writers found solace in its silent persistence. Social media platforms themselves became reflective spaces. Users posted penguin moments, photos of solitary walks, journal entries, or projects completed quietly. Hashtags proliferated, #BeThePenguin, silent strength, walking alone. Mimetic culture had transformed into psychological guidance. A viral clip became a mental health tool, a cultural mirror, and a life lesson in one. Academic journals began analyzing it. Articles appeared. The Nihilist Penguin as a case study in empathic resonance and digital reflection. Solitary action as a model for modern burnout recovery. Psychologists argued that humans were hardwired to respond to perceived solitude and perseverance, activating circuits associated with empathy, admiration, and self-reflection. A penguin unknowingly had become a universal therapist. Even celebrities engaged. A famous musician posted a video walking alone with the caption, "Sometimes the only thing you can do is keep walking." A political analyst compared the penguin's solitary journey to leaders navigating criticism and chaos. Across platforms, the penguin became a living metaphor. Months became years, yet the original clip retained a sacred aura. Each viewing reminded audiences that meaning does not require recognition, that enduring in silence can ripple outward, influencing countless lives. The penguin had no voice, no audience, no intention, yet its quiet, deliberate action shaped human perception profoundly. And the lesson crystallized: in a world obsessed with spectacle, noise, and constant motion, the most important act is sometimes the simplest: to continue forward steadily, silently, without expectation or applause. The penguin walked alone, and in doing so, it taught humans what it means to endure, reflect, and ultimately live with resilience. As the digital world shifted and trends faded, the penguin remained. An eternal emblem of perseverance, an unlikely guide through the noise of modern life. Its footprints marked not just snow, but the path humans could follow, one deliberate step at a time. And somewhere in the quiet of contemplation, each viewer realized the truth: to walk alone is not to be lost, it is to master oneself.